And getting to the first topic of the conversation, I'm going to lay down kind of the foreshadowing here. So I'm at the game over the weekend. Before the game, I'm at the coffee shop. I'm at the Starbucks right next to Julia Tutwiler Hall. And in my mind, as I'm at the coffee shop, I'm thinking about what a lot of fans have been discussing. I don't know about Alabama this year. I don't think Bama's a playoff team. I don't think it can win the national championship. I don't think it can beat Georgia. Just so many inconsistencies. We haven't peaked yet. We haven't hit the pinnacles that we're trying to reach. We're not looking consistent. Just so many thoughts bombarded my mind at the coffee shop. But I remember a father and an uncle of a particular player came up to the coffee shop. Not going to tell you who the person was because I promised I would keep their identity under wraps here. But talking to this father and this uncle of a particular Bama player, current player, at the coffee shop, and the father told me, he was like, Steven, first of all, love the show, watch it all the time. But Steven, man, look, these guys are clicking at the right time. If this team would have peaked 5 weeks ago, nobody would be talking about it. But the championship teams are made late. The championship teams are formed late. The championship teams are born late. And everybody is getting together. Everybody's starting to hit the groove at the right time and at the right moment. And as that parent walked away, I'm like, my God, that man right. Like, what am I doing? That man is absolutely right. And it completely changed the whole complexion of my day. The brother was absolutely right. And while it was great to see, Bryce Young do his thing offensively, Jamison Williams do his thing offensively against New Mexico State, you had a lot of young players offensively and defensively take the field, and that was fun and outstanding to watch as Alabama got the 59-3 dominant win. What I was happy for was this right here. This Alabama defense starting to play mean, starting to peak a little bit, starting to gel together at the right time. This defense starting to peak, starting to gel, starting to get mean, starting to fall in line at the right time. And I mean, and this is the reason why this game against New Mexico State was so big, was not for national media, not for major attention, but this game was big because U.S. fans wanted to see, could this defense put together 4 quarters of pure dominance on the field, putting the foot on New Mexico State's neck, not letting up, making plays, creating turnovers, sacking the quarterback, communicating well, following assignments, just playing all around dominant football. And after giving up a field goal in the first quarter, Alabama did that, put the clamps on. The Aggies did not score the remaining 3 quarters of the game, just being held there to those 3 points. And just some aspects here defensively I was really happy with. The defensive line for Alabama. Now, it's got to continue building that consistency, but it's starting to get more pressure to quarterbacks. Fadarian Mathis had a strong game. Tim Smith is getting better and better and better. At some point, I think he should overtake DJ Dale for that starting nose tackle spot there in the middle. Tim Smith's getting better and better. Justin Boygby had a half a sack in the game, so that was a good note for him right there. LeBrian Ray, people. LeBrian Ray, after all he has been through in his career, with all of these injuries, the former 5-star in the 2017 class got his first solo sack in 2 years. That felt really good to watch that. It felt really good to see that. Watching LeBron Ray, get that sack, having that moment to celebrate with his teammates, celebrate with his brothers there on the field. So this is a defensive front that's got to continue to build on this, got to continue to create pressure, affect the quarterback, get in the passing lanes, collapse the pocket, bat balls down, get sacks, make quarterbacks feel uncomfortable, but it is starting to generate a little bit more of that pressure from its down lineman up front. We saw that there against New Mexico State. 7 of those 7 sacks that Alabama had, quite a few of those came from the guys on the defensive line there. As we look at the linebackers, here's a group that starting to find itself more and more. Now, of course, You want to see a bit more consistency from Christian Harris and from Henry To'o, and they're growing in those areas. But here's a group that's starting to find itself more and more as we continue throughout this stretch here of the season. How about Shane Lee one time? I mean, people thought Shane Lee dropped off the face of the earth and disappeared. The brother had half a sack against New Mexico State, and that was really good for Lee. It looked fast, getting the sack. Went to the ball, pursued the ball. Looks like, Dr. Matt Ray and the sports science department, performance science department has got the hips of Shane Lee loose and moving well and moving fast and got the fluidity in that area right there. Shane Lee getting half a sack, so proud of that moment. And of the outside linebackers, Will Anderson is playing like a man possessed. Of course, we know this. This is no surprise to anybody. Dallas Turner is growing with every game. He's getting better and better. And in the matchup over the weekend, I don't know how many people saw this, but it almost felt like a competition watching Anderson and Turner affect the quarterback. It looked like a young version of Ryan Anderson and Tim Williams. It looked like a young version of, John Copeland and Eric Curry, where it was like, I will meet you at the quarterback. We're both going to get there, but I will meet you there. I mean, that was a firm competition between Anderson and Turner. There was one play where Anderson has the quarterback in his sights. He is about to rip this man to the ground, and all of a sudden, somebody got in this way. Dallas Turner comes from the blind side and just ear-hold the quarterback. I mean, both of those two playing exceptionally well. And then you've got Drew Sanders continuing to work back from the hand injury against Ole Miss. He had a sack in the matchup. Chris Braswell was being very disruptive in the game. And to me, if Christopher Allen decides to take the medical red shirt and come back, and I believe he will and he should, just due to he has not created enough first-round draft value for himself, so he should come back. But in the event he comes back, this outside linebacker room is going to be insane next season. When you look at Chris Allen, Will Anderson, Dallas Turner, Drew Sanders, Chris Braswell, King Wakuda still on the roster, Quandarius Robinson still on the roster, Keanu Colt, like the depth and the insane amount of talent just at outside linebacker alone, it's stupid good. So if Chris Allen decides to come back, that's a big, big deal right there. But that's the linebackers. In terms of Alabama's defensive secondary starting to fall in line also. Malachi Moore, brother was on one, had two big hits, lowered the boom in the game. He played well. Brian Branch almost half murdered a guy out there in the field. He hit a guy so hard. That was Brian Branch doing his thing. Jalen Armour Davis being consistent. Daniel Wright replacing DeMarco Hellams, who had a thigh bruise. DeMarco's okay. Daniel Wright had a good game on his end. But Josh Jobe, as the elder statesman, as the senior leader of this defensive secondary, he has got to turn it up a notch quick. He's got to turn it up. He's got to hit in the high gear. He has got to put together some big games, some marquee games coming down the stretch here for Alabama. Played well against New Mexico State, but now it's time for this young man, Josh Jobe, to turn it up. But when you just look at the last two games here for Alabama defensively in terms of things coming together, look at what this Alabama defense has done against LSU and this past week here against the Aggies. We're looking at 12 sacks for this team. We're looking at 20 tackles for loss combined in two games. We're looking at 11 pass breakups. We're looking at 12 quarterback hurries. We are seeing 3 forced turnovers. We're seeing 5 shutout quarters of football. This Alabama defense is starting to come together. It's starting to gel. It's starting to hit. It's starting to become mean at the right time. Still got to clean some things up when you look at Arkansas this week, Auburn in the Iron Bowl, Georgia potentially in the SEC championship game. But it's starting to hit here at the right time. And I think Alabama is a shutout away from really gaining confidence. And I know it's not easy to shut teams out in the SEC, though Georgia has done it twice this year. But I think if Alabama can force a shutout, whether it's against Arkansas this week at Bryant-Denny, whether it's against Auburn next week in the Iron Bowl at Jordan-Hare Stadium. If Alabama's defense can force one shutout, it's going to be monumental. It boosts the confidence going up against Georgia, because then those guys are going to feel like we can do this. We got this shutout. We can go into Atlanta and take care of Georgia. I think it's a shutout away from doing that. I mentioned this last week. In all 6 championship years of the Saban era, 2009, 11, 12, 15, 17, and 2020 here, Alabama has at least forced one complete game shutout in all of those seasons and all of those years. So I feel like if Bama can get its hands on one shutout, whether it's against Arkansas, whether it's against Auburn, it's a huge deal going forward. But big win there. A good win there for Alabama. Was able to have dominance there, both sides of the ball, especially on defense, showing you it can get a complete game put together, and also showing you that this defense is starting to gel, it's starting to peak, it's starting to form. Things are beginning to come together at the right time, in the right moment.